What is an example of an open-ended question? I've got that answer for you today on this episode of the Inside BS Show. Hi, this is the Inside BS Sales Tip Show. I'm Dave Lorenzo. We're answering your questions. And today, your question is, what is an example of an open-ended question? This is part of our open-ended question series, so be sure and check down in the description for the other videos in this series. Today we're answering your question, and that is, what is an example of an open-ended question? We're going to dive right into that content. There are 6 examples of open-ended questions I share with you, and then at the end of the video, I'm sharing the question that creates urgency. That's right. It's the one question that can change everything for you. So you don't want to miss this one question. It's at the end of the show, so stick with me. We're going to answer this question for you today, give you the 6 open-ended questions. Here you go. Here are some examples of an open-ended question. Number 1, that's fascinating. How did you get into that? That's an open-ended question, and the reason we ask that, up front, is because we want to know why people are doing what they're doing. So let me share with you when you will ask this particular open-ended question. You're in a sales meeting, and perhaps you just walked into the sales meeting, or the sales meeting just started, and you say to the person across from you, "Hey, how's it going? What is it exactly that you do around here? I know what your job title is, but tell me a little bit about the job itself." They tell you about the job, and then you say, "That's fascinating. How did you get into that?" That open-ended question gets them talking about themselves, gets the person talking about himself or herself, and it's also flattering because you're asking for more information. Now, is this directly related to what you're going to do in this sales situation? I mean, this is an example of a great open-ended question. It's an example of an open-ended question, and it helps to get the relationship started on the right foot. So question number 1, example number 1 of an open-ended question is, that's fascinating. How did you get into that? So you wanted examples of open-ended questions, right? Well, I gave you one already. Here's number 2. And this is a doozy. This is one of my favorites. I love this question. The second example of an open-ended question you can ask is just looking deadpan at the client and saying, "Why did you ask me that question just now?" I like to be a little bit more dramatic, and I'll take my glasses off for effect and maybe tap them on my chin and go, "Why did you ask me that question right now?" Now, this is something that may take a little practice because it's kind of off-putting the first time you do it, but really what you're doing is you're looking to get behind the intention of the client. Because sometimes clients ask questions as a way of putting you off. Sometimes clients ask questions to understand, and sometimes clients just ask questions because they want to seem smart and they're insecure. Well, you got to figure out which one of those it is. So when you look at them and you go, why did you ask me that question right now? You're reaching in and you're saying, "Hey, I know that something's going on here. Let me in, tell me what it is, and then I can help you." If you're looking for examples of an open-ended question in sales, that one's a great one. It's one of my favorites, and that's example number 2. You want an example of an open-ended question? Here you go. If you could change one thing about your business, what would it be? If you could change just one thing about your business, Mr. Client, what would it be? That's a fantastic open-ended question. It's number 3 on our list, and it's the one that I use most often. Why do I want to know what people would like to change or what they could change about their business? Well, maybe I can help them. And if I can help them make that change, I'm more valuable to them. And I want to be valuable. I want to deliver value. That's what I'm here for. So, Mr. Client, if you could change one thing about your business, what would it be? When he tells you, see what you can do to help him. That's an example of an open-ended question, and it's a really good one. It's the one you should be asking right now. You're wondering, what's an example of an open-ended question? Well, one of the best examples of an open-ended question is when you ask the prospective client, why is this important to you? Why is this important to you? I mean, this is a problem your company's facing, Mr. Client. Why is this important to you? What will happen to you if we don't solve this problem, and what will happen to you if we do solve this problem? You see, this question, this open-ended question, is the perfect example because it really gets to the heart of the matter. We're looking to solve problems for our clients, and we do so that we can make money, but we also help them achieve their personal goals, or we help them remove some personal pain, some personal thing that they're struggling with. So why is this important to you, Mr. Prospect, or why is this important to you, Ms. Client? That is a critical example of an open-ended question in sales. Make sure that when you're asking this question, you're doing so from a place of concern, from a place of compassion, and with empathy. Bottom line on open-ended questions, especially in sales, is that if you deliver the question with empathy, people are always going to answer 100% of the time. So we're giving examples of good open-ended questions. You want an example of an open-ended question? Here's the fifth one. Mr. Client, what happens if you don't figure this out? What happens if you don't solve this problem? Mr. Client, what would be the outcome? What would happen to you? What would happen to your business if you don't figure this out? That's such an important question, and it's an open-ended question. The client is going to share with you what will happen if things go badly, and he's going to want to avoid having things go badly. So his focus is going to be squarely on making sure that things don't go badly. So question number 5 is not only practical, but it's essential. What happens if you don't figure this out? The client's going to answer, and he's going to give you a roadmap to how you're going to sell them. That's a huge benefit to you as a professional, as someone who's looking to get a deal closed, and it's a great example of an open-ended question. For the 6th example of a great open-ended question, stay with me because it's coming at you right now. Well, we're up to point number 6, and point number 6 is the 6th example of an open-ended question for you to use during your sales process, and that is, hey, Mr. Prospect, what are you hoping I can do for you? What are you hoping I can do for you? What are your expectations of our relationship? Now, when you ask this question to a prospect, the answer you're going to get is, oh, geez, I don't know. And then you're going to say, well, take a guess, or off the record, tell me, what were you hoping we could get done? And then the prospect is going to give you a roadmap. They're going to give you a path to actually selling them. They're going to give you the path to closing the deal. So what were you hoping I could do for you? That is the critical question. It's the 6th question. It's an example of a great open-ended question in sales. And coming up is point number 7, and that's the question that creates urgency. You're not going to want to miss this. Stay with me. Here it comes right now. So we're at point number 7. This is the bonus. This is the extra. This is the question that I promised you that's going to create all the urgency. It's the question you got to ask. So you're wanting to know what is an example of an open-ended question. This one, number 7, is the killer for you. This is the question that creates all the urgency. Why is it important to solve this now? Mrs. Prospect, why is it important that we tackle this problem now? Mr. Prospect, why is it important that we solve this now? I mean, you waited all this time. Why is it important to solve this now? This question, this is a money question, and this question is so important because this will help you understand why they're calling you now. It'll help you when it comes time to close the deal because you can say to them, You just told me that if you don't solve this problem now, X is going to happen. You just told me that if you don't solve this problem now, you're going to go out of business. This is a bet the company situation. You told me that yourself. Let's get to work. Do you want some help? Can I help you? When people answer this open-ended question, they are giving you the green light to tell them that you're ready, willing, and able to help them. What is an example of an open-ended question? This is the best example of an open-ended question. This is number 7. It's the money question. Why is it important to solve this now? I hope you got a ton of value out of this video because I know it's going to help you make more money. Be sure and watch all the rest of the videos in this series. There's a link right up there. Just click on that link and go to the rest of the videos in this series. If you do, you will understand the awesome power of open-ended questions. Thanks for joining me today for these examples of open-ended questions. We'll see you right back here in our next video on open-ended questions. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you in our next video.